Hi everyone, it's Pete Connor here from Pure Fabs, part of the Pure Companies group based in northern Greater Manchester, just outside Bolton. And this is my first video at introducing the lean manufacturing process, the 5S process that we're starting to implement here at Pure Fabs. It sort of started a month or two ago when I saw the need for us to improve on what we're doing. We manufacture ventilation ductwork for the construction industry, and we're very good at it. I think we're very good at it. But when I really started to look, I actually started to question how we've been doing things, and we've been doing things the same way. It's quite a prehistoric industry in many ways. We have sheet metal and we bend it and we do things with it and turn it into different shapes for various different customers. And it's been the same sort of for quite a few years, and the same sort of processes. We moved into a new factory, into a new workshop just before Christmas, or around about Christmas last year, right in the middle of one of our busiest periods of work I think we've ever had. At the time we had thousands, 20,000-30,000 pounds worth of work on every single week that we just couldn't cope with, and some of it was for this country, and we actually had a big project on for a new client of ours at the time, and that was actually being shipped overseas, being shipped abroad in containers, and we had 20 containers in our workshop, or sorry, just outside in the car park. And it was really sort of tough for us making the move out of our old unit, which was pretty dark, pretty dingy. We were absolutely bursting at the seams, and one of the reasons that we had to move was that as a company we identified the fact that we were just shifting stuff around. We were shifting ductwork around to make room for the next lot of ductwork, and then we were having to move that, and so we were duplicating a lot of the work that we were doing. So we identified a new workshop, and we moved in, and literally as the last piece of machinery went out of the old workshop and was put into the new workshop, we'd done a lot of work in the background, and as that first piece of equipment was put in the new workshop, it went into production. We were that busy. Anyway, we managed to get through that. We managed to get through that really busy period, and then we had a period where I'm trying to think, where we were consolidating a little bit. We were getting used to the environment, the new environment we were in. We were getting used to the extra space. We moved from like a 7,000 square feet factory to a 25,000 square feet factory. And it took a little bit of getting used to, and we had to find places for things. And we still haven't. After 6 months, it's not perfect. We're still changing things. We're still moving things. But what we weren't doing was we weren't doing it in a way that we could actually measure what we were doing. So a couple of months ago, or probably 6 weeks ago now, I was fortunate enough to be invited along to a manufacturing management course. From I think it was the Growth Hub, the Greater Manchester Growth Hub, who introduced us and invited us along. So I went along really with a little bit, not skepticism, but just wondering what was going to come out of it. And we had some really good speakers. I had a great time. We had some really good speakers telling us about how the things were moving on in the manufacturing industry. I think we were fortunate enough to have Siemens there and British Aerospace, BAE, and a few other sort of high-profile speakers as well. But what was most interesting for me was the fact that I was sort of engulfed with 50 other manufacturers for 48 hours. And that was one of the sort of turning points in what started to make me think that we could do things better in our workshop. I kind of questioned everyone a little bit. I kind of questioned the guys from the Growth Hub and the Scottish Growth Hub as well. Similar sort of thing. And I just said to them, when you walk into because these are the guys who help businesses, government funded. They're out there. If you need some help and you're in the UK, have a look, Google them, the Growth Hub, absolutely brilliant. We've had some really good people in to help us look at what we're doing, look at our processes, and help us on our way a little bit, because I think we all reach a stage where we kind of get a little bit stuck. We're caught up in the busyness of the day. We're caught up in what we're doing, and sometimes you actually have to take a step back from that and look at managing the business and actually directing the business, and rather than just being involved in the day-to-day sort of grind of it, if you see what I mean. So anyway, the Growth Hub were really, really good. And when I questioned them, I said, you know, what is it that you, when you walk into a place that gives you your first impression, what makes you think, is this company doing all right? Is it not doing okay? And all of the companies that I spoke to just said housekeeping. As simple as that, it's housekeeping. If we walk into a unit and it's dark, it's dingy, there's piles of rubbish, piles of unwanted stuff, years of half sort of used materials lying around, they know that they've got their work cut out. But they also said, you know, if we walk in and we see that things are relatively neat and tidy, we know we've got a fighting chance with these companies. And one thing I think we've all got to be aware of now is that if we don't look at ourselves and we don't try and change how we're doing things, we're going to get left behind. You know, there's only a sort of finite amount of work out there, and if we don't change everything that we're doing, then we are going to get left behind, and other people will overtake us. And you know, I for one don't want that for the business that I'm involved with. So it was really, what else can I do? So when I was talking to these other guys at this manufacturing seminar, I just said to them, you know, what do you do? What practices do you do? Is there anything that I can do to help me improve what myself and the team in the workshop are doing? And they all said, well, bar none, all the ones who were kind of moving on and getting on with things, all said, have you implemented 5S? And I went, no. And they said, have you heard of 5S? And I went, yeah, of course I've heard of 5S. Yes, you know, I'm in manufacturing. If you haven't heard of 5S in manufacturing, then, you know, where have you been? So they said, look, just implement it. Start to implement it, and you will see the difference straight away. So, of course, me being me, I went away and sort of immersed myself a little bit in Googling 5S and what it entailed, and the Toyota Management Program or Process, TMP, and various other things, Six Sigma and whatever. And there's one thing that kept coming up on Google, and it was a gent called Paul Akers from a company called FastCap in the States. And he has been implementing 5S, or lean manufacturing as he calls it, 2-second lean as he calls it, for the last sort of 10 years or so, I think. And he has seen a major difference. Now, this guy he's absolutely obsessed by seeing waste, I think is the best way to describe it, and the way he describes it as well. So everything that you do, every process, be it getting up from your seat and walking somewhere and doing something else, and he looks at that and goes, why am I doing that? You know, why am I getting up from my seat? Why have I sat down? I'm going to raise my desk up, you know, because then I don't have to sit down and I've saved myself a few seconds. That kind of thing, you know. But he's taken it to the nth degree, and wow, you know, that guy is pretty crazy and pretty obsessed. And why I don't think I'm going to quite get to that stage, but who knows, it does kind of have a way of affecting you and taking over your life. I'd love to think that there will be some massive changes here at Pure Fabs. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take you through for a quick walk around of the workshop so you can see where we are now. And another thing, if you've got this far in the video already because you're interested in perhaps starting your own 5S journey, and you're on it already, and you're not doing you're not doing these video logs, I suppose, or blogs or vlogs or whatever they're called now. If you're not doing this so that you can actually see where you were then and where you're actually going to in the future, so that in the future you can play them back and look at them and go, my goodness, look at where we were. Start them now. Start photographing before and afters. And I've already put a couple of little things in place, and because I'm just like that, and to be honest, it took me a while to actually pluck up the guts to stand in front of a camera and start telling our story, really telling the story of what we're trying to do here. So I put one or two things in place, which I'll show you, and I'll show you how I'm thinking. And but I really strongly urge you now to get on and start logging what you're doing. It's accountability. That's what it's all about. It's about looking back and looking to the future and measuring the two together. So let's just have a quick around. So this is the production office that I'm standing in at the moment. And again, you know, it's not perfect. This is an engineering works, and at the moment there's bits of paper everywhere. Not everywhere, but there are bits of paper on the desk. The desks aren't tidy. They're not, you know, there's bits and pieces sort of lying around, and sometimes it's difficult to find things, and there's bits of paper that haven't been sorted out for a few weeks. And so all of these things are things that I'm going to be looking at, and the team here are going to be looking at, the team in the production office are going to be looking at to try and improve things. So I'm just going to move now into the actual workshop itself, and just to give you a bit of a look at the scale of things here. I think you can sort of see what we do. We kind of play with metal and make boxes and sort of square things and different shaped things. And let me just have a little. Let's just have a little wander so you can sort of see the things that we kind of get up to here, and sort of the extent of things. And what you have to remember is that although things might look pretty spaced out here, and you know, it's all about movement and trying to save waste of movement and things like that when you're looking at 5S. If you look at the size of these pieces of ductwork here, and then we just wander down here, you'll see the scope of the work that we actually have to do. So we've gone from those small pieces there to this one here. You know, those other pieces were sort of 400 millimeters long. This is 6 meters, 6,000 millimeters long. It's a bit of a beast, and we've been working on it for a few days. And the thing is with that's got to be taken apart. It's got to be painted, and it's got to be put together because it's too big to go through the doorway of where it's actually going to be fitted. So that's the challenge that we have. The challenge is we're doing items that are that big to items that are, well, bigger than my arms can sort of stretch. So let's just have a little wander around now so you can actually see sort of where we're at the moment. You know, this is how things are. You know, there's stuff lent up against the walls over there, and there's little bits of paper left in different areas, and I don't really want to turn my back to you, but just so that you can get an idea, there's a few boxes lying around over there. Parts of the workshop, you know, it's fairly clean, it's fairly tidy. You know, we've got a box over there with all the bits and pieces for the guys to use on the machines, sort of day in and day out. It's not neat, it's not tidy, but for the time it'll do. And it's something that we can all look at. It's something that we can change. You know, there's things that are sort of moving, and things that are people. Sorry, I'm kind of losing myself, so you must excuse me. But we're about 3 weeks into our lean journey. 3 weeks, that's all. So, and I've kind of said, I'd love to see the difference in 2 years. I'd love to be able to look forward 2 years and see where we'll be, because we will still be doing this. And the guys are starting to embrace it a little bit. You know, it's one of the things that Paul Akers says is, what bugs you? What bugs you? What is it that you just got to change because you can't keep doing things the same way? And you go, oh my gosh, why am I doing it this way again? And I'm trying to explain that to the rest of the team members here. And a couple of them, you know, I've seen the change. To me, it was almost like a real light bulb moment today for me when one of the guys came up to me. I talked to them yesterday about there's a process that we use, and let me see if I just walk over to that part of the unit now. There's a process that we use, and we use sealant. We use those, you know, those guns that you press. You put a cartridge of sealant in. It's one of these. If I can just hook it. Hold on. It's hung up because someone's done something today, which is great, but it's going to need some working on. So it's these, yeah. It's tubes of sealant in a sealant gun. They're very simple. Now the easiest thing for the guys to do would be to do this in the evening. Okay, can you see? If I can just get this thing right. It's just been hung on the side of the bench, and what was happening was gravity overnight was taking place, and the contents of this or a quarter of it, was ending up on the floor. Every morning I'd come in and there was piles of it on the floor because they just didn't think it was a problem. Now, I spoke to the guys yesterday and I just said to them, look, that's really bugging me. Does it not bug you? And they all went, yeah, it does. It does. I'll sort that out in a sec. They said, yeah, it does bug us because we have to come in and we have to clear it up every morning. So I just said, okay, here's a challenge for you. Just think of a way that we can stop you, that those can be put away nice and tidily, and it'll stop the sealant from coming out. Now, bear in mind, these tubes of sealant cost us £3 each. We're losing a quarter of the contents. I don't know. Let's just, for argument's sake, just say, I don't know, 75 pence every night out of 3 of those. So that's, me and my maths is pretty bad. It's something like £2.25 every night. We're losing to the floor. So I just said that can't go on. That's absolutely ridiculous. So what they've done today, I'm just going to try and get over there, and perhaps you'll just see the one that I had. They've just constructed, this guy has only been with us for 2 weeks, and he's actually thought about it, and he's just made a little box up. He's made a little box with some hooks on so that the sealant tubes are now the right way up. So that, to me, look, it's not perfect. It isn't perfect. Now, we know that. He knows it's not perfect, but it's a trial. It's the first attempt that he's had at improving what he's doing and stopping things from bugging people. To me, that was just the most amazing thing that I've seen, because somebody else had taken it upon themselves to try and help me. He was thinking of the next guy, which is another thing that Paul Akers says. And guys, just check him out, because he's been doing this for years. He's got thousands of videos probably online, and some of them are just absolutely brilliant. You know, they're all good, but some are absolutely brilliant, and you can just pick up some real nuggets of information and inspiration from some of those videos. So you know, visit him. It's on FastCap. Google FastCap in the States, and you'll see his, or Paul Akers. I think it's paulakers.com. Google him and watch some of his videos if you want more inspiration and more ideas on 5S. And he's kind of given me the ideas to do this. Well, he has given me the ideas to do this. And so here's something else that we've sort of done today. So before, we just had a little piece of metal on the wall we've got our production board. Hold on, let me navigate selfie stick here. We've got our production board on the wall there. And what we've done is, because we work with metal, everything is magnetic on there. But what I've done as well with the signs, they're magnetic. They're on these little aluminium frames, cheap as chips. And what I've done is I've just bought some of that magnetic strip with an adhesive backing. I've got total flexibility on whatever I want to put on any of these signs now. So I can change, just out of our printer at work, I've got total control over our signage. So I can be as sort of agile and as flexible as possible as I want to be with it. And the same on here. This is something that wasn't here 2 weeks ago. We've got the starts of our lean manufacturing board. You know, we've got 5, it's probably all backwards to you, so I apologise for that, but you get the drift, you know. It's got 5S, continuous improvement, and it's got the 5 fundamentals of 5S on the board. And I'm going to add to that, you know. I'm going to add lots of different things, lots of visual things, because I think it's really important with people that everything's visual for them, that they can see it's continually being pushed and pushed in their minds. So, and it's just down to, we've done the same thing just a little bit further down here as well. When we moved into the place, there was a bit of a health and safety board up. It wasn't good. So over the last couple of days, we've just changed things now. So we've got our health and safety board up there with a few bits and pieces on it that we have to have and we have to display. And again, that's going to get added to, because it's important. Health and safety is absolutely paramount here at Pure Fabs. We're working with sort of light engineering materials, and you know, it's steel, it's hammers, it's grinders, it's riveters, it's drills. So we have to be really, really careful. And the fact that I'm not actually wearing a ear defenders and safety glasses is because everyone's gone home. I've kind of done this because this is my first video, and well, actually it's not. I tried earlier, and the lads were here, and they just thought I was just a little bit balmy and just didn't sort of quite get what I was doing. But I think once they see this and they can see what I'm doing and seeing what we collectively are trying to achieve, I think they'll understand. I hope they understand. And as I said to them, we had a meeting last week, and that's another thing I'll just come on to in just a sec. We had a meeting last week, and I just said, if you're not here, if you're not coming along on this journey with me, chances of you being here in 12 months' time are pretty slim. They're pretty slim, because we all have to get involved with this, otherwise it's not going to work. And you know, I think they are. In fact, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're taking it on board, and see those first signs with the sealant stand. You know, that to me is just testament that it can work, and these guys are actually starting to think. So if you've made it to 20 minutes, thank you for listening to me. There is just one other thing that I wanted to, I'm just brain dumping here, so just excuse me and bear with me if you haven't fallen asleep already. Meetings. Now, Paul Akers has a meeting every single day, and it's 45 minutes, between half hour and 45 minutes every single day. To me, that's a little bit too much of a culture shock for the team here. They're just not used to it. I was doing a team huddle every fortnight, just to put over information, the little gripes and things like that I think need to be sorted, but also using it as an opportunity to praise people and to try and gradually introduce new ideas and whatever to them. And the thing with having a meeting every 2 weeks, it's not enough. It really isn't enough, because what I noticed when I first started talking about lean manufacturing and 5S to them, what I found was that it went, after a while, the first week was brilliant. The first few days were absolutely brilliant, because they'd come in, they'd clean their benches up, they'd make sure things were tidy, and then over a period of time, slowly, it just drifted back to as it was before. And that's not good enough. So I noticed after 2 weeks, people just weren't bothering anymore. So what I'm doing is, from tomorrow, today's a Thursday, on a Friday morning, we're going to have maybe slightly shorter meeting for now. We're going to have 20 minutes where we're talking about what we've achieved over the last week, and we have achieved some things. We've got the boards, we've got the cupboard. Another thing that actually the same lad has done, we had all these hoses all over the floor, the air hoses for our airlines, and he's actually made a holder for those today. So the team are thinking. That guy especially, and he's going to get a little bit of praise from me tomorrow. So Anthony, if you're watching this, then you know, hopefully by now you've had your praise, and you're still with us, and you're thinking lean. So what I ask the guys, is what Paul Akers asks all of his team: save 2 seconds of waste every single day. That's all it needs. And if everybody saves 2 seconds of waste, then and that doesn't necessarily mean stuff that you're putting out in the garbage, although you know that is part of 5S. But it's time. Think about what you're doing. Why have I done it this way? Why have I always done it this way? And how can I do something to save that time? So look, if I haven't bored you enough already, this is my first video. This is the first time that I'm kind of putting ourselves out to you. If you've got any questions, if you want to join us in the journey, then drop me an email. It's pete.connor, CONNOR, at purefabs, PUREFABS.co.uk. And yeah, drop us an email, or hopefully I'll work out how to get this up onto YouTube, and then maybe you can comment or do something technical or whatever it is with that. So anyway, look, I hope you kind of eventually, I keep saying kind of, that's one thing that I'm kind of going to have to change. I hope you've enjoyed the last 25 minutes that you spent with me. I hope that you can see that we are making improvements, and that is a continuous, every single day improvement cycle. Love to hear from you, like I say, but for me, that's it for now. See you later.